Previously on Popular Poison Problems.
Oh, look. Another letter from world-famous Scald.
He keeps using those words. I do not think they mean what he thinks they mean.
Pardon me, ma'am. I'm Snippy, Lord Snappy's assistant.
Do all devils look alike?
Jeannie, you can't say that. It's racist. And now, on with the show.
And it really was an amazing night. I worked with Dulcimer's adventuring party. Well, world-famous Scald, I mean. Oh my, that was close. I almost gave away his real name. Anyway, we were working together to stop the rise of Tiamat. Oh, and they had recently found a new axe no one needed, Pierre, who has been amazing to work with.
You are truly the most beautiful and skilled creature in all the multiverse. How could it be otherwise?
He's so honest. So anyway, we were interrogating this cult member when...
What was that? I wasn't listening.
Oh, good. Everyone's here. I'm going to start the broadcast. Snippy, could I get you to...
I'm Snappy, you stupid sorcery sauce simpleton! Are you blind, you babbling, bumbling buffoon?
Yep, that's Snappy.
Carrie has encountered a problem. The intern often does not consent to Mr. Safety's attempts to interface with him on the advised schedule of 3 times daily. As such, the intern risks falling behind on his treatments. For a full recovery, it is necessary that Carrie completes regular treatments as recommended.
I see. If you're only servicing him once a day instead of 3 times, we get a discount for that, right?
Yes, Carrie only charges for services rendered. However, Carrie...
Once a day sounds great.
Honestly, I feel like I only really need one a few times a week. Like, maybe once every other day?
I've always liked you, intern Steven Skull.
Carrie, as we discussed, you may not have Mr. Safety enter intern Steven Skull's maintenance port unless you have received emphatic consent. I'm not okay with him receiving any treatments he hasn't agreed to willingly, and that's final. Anyway, if we're not going to talk about my adventure, we should go ahead and read this week's letter.
Dear Jeannie, greetings. Perhaps you've heard of me from world-famous Scald. I'm a friend of his. While I do not have nearly his proficiency with instruments, I must admit I am quite the seducer in my own right. Lately, though, I've been having some trouble where I've been seducing people too well. It all started when my party encountered an adult blue dragon. The fighters all wanted to challenge it in battle for glory or some such nonsense, but knowing that our fighters are not nearly as strong or talented as they think they are, I managed to convince them that perhaps violence wasn't the best course of action. Unfortunately, they had already angered this dragon, and it wasn't about to let us finish sharing its treasure with us without some sort of confrontation. I've always been quick to think on my feet, however, so I knew what I had to do. I whipped out the old charm and some false eyelashes, and soon had the dragon swooning over me. While it was infatuated, the rest of my party snuck out of the cave. However, as I tried to escape, I realized that the dragon's desire for me was not so easily released. It pursued me for a good 20 miles before finally realizing that I probably wasn't worth it, and that its cave was woefully unprotected. Fortunately, other than some jokes from my fellow party members about how I almost became an unwilling mother of dragons, there weren't any serious repercussions to this incident, although female-presenting bards are now cautioned to avoid draconic caves in this area, just in case. Now, my party has been tracking down a rather villainous warlord for some time. Whenever we come across a slaughtered village or a desecrated temple, there is usually evidence that he was behind it. In fact, he's even tried conquering the world a few times, using dark and forbidden magic. Fortunately, he's far from the best at what he does, and we've managed to stop him for the most part. However, during our last encounter with him, he managed to knock out the rest of my party. I realized I had no other choice, and did what I do best. I pulled out my false eyelashes, quick changed into a dress, strummed up some moxie, and utilized a bit of that old charm. I also lightened my voice a tiny bit, and, before long, I had the enemy thinking I was the man dressed as a woman of his dreams, and promised him a date if he would just let us go. A promise I had no intention of keeping, as I am in no way attracted to other men. here's where it gets complicated. Ever since that night, he's been determined to find me. Well, not me, but the dressed-up, female-presenting me. Instead of burning villages to the ground, he's been taking them over and forcing the villagers to do ridiculous things like planning elaborate giant feasts when my party passes through. He desecrated the graveyard at the Bardic College and raised a host of their most famous performers and sent them to a dungeon we were raiding in an attempt to woo me with song. On one hand, I'm glad he's not actively trying to take over the world anymore, but on the other, this is getting a little ridiculous. What do you recommend I do to handle this situation? Sincerely yours, the Seductive Savior.
Dear Seductive Savior, the truth is sometimes a harsh reality. My honest advice is that people are lame and it is important to keep your promise. And in doing so, you might have to remain this warlord's woman of his dreams for some time. However, this does give you an advantage to destroy him as an insider through the art of manipulation. Also, false eyelashes are hard to maintain daily, so consider getting magic or manually placed professional extensions in order to save you a bit of stress throughout this most arduous experience. And finally, it will probably work to your advantage to become an expert in the art of oral sex. Keep me posted, and good luck!
You are listening to Popular Person Problems with Jeannie the Giant Killer, brought to you by Intervision Entertainment and What Happens After 2 a.m. Got a letter for Jeannie? Shoot her a message at jeannie@intervisionentertainment.com. For more shenanigans with Jeannie and the rest of the gang in Intervision, please hit up our website at intervisionentertainment.com, or, better yet, help take the struggle out of struggling artists by becoming a visionary through patreon.com.
Carrie would like to have Mr. Safety give you what is good for you.
No, thank you.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, he is.